Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon. We are live on YouTube, and this is such an amazing time that we're going to have together. My name is Detala Amure. For those who do not know me, who do not know me, I am the founder of Super Working Mom, and today we are having a conversation. We call it Super Working Mom Convos, and basically what we do on this conversation is that we get to talk to ordinary women who are doing extraordinary things, and we have an amazing guest with us. But before we dive in, I want to check that you can hear me and you can see me clearly. So let me know in the chat box if you can hear me clearly. That would be awesome. I'm just going to wait for a few minutes. Oh, no, not a few minutes, a few seconds. Hello. Hi, Falake. Hi, Ola. Let me know if you can hear me. I always love to check so that way I'm not just rambling on. Awesome, loud and clear. Thank you so much. Now, if this is your first time on our YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe because we are going to be bringing a lot of um, valuable content. So it will either be an interview like this or discussion. I prefer to call it a discussion and not an interview. We'll have discussions with ordinary moms or ordinary women doing extraordinary things, or we will have myself talking about productivity, faith, motivation, and all of those things. So go right ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. So without any further ado, I am going to go straight into today's discussion with Abi Dare. Now, Abi is someone that I've known for the past, I think I met Abi online in 2006, 2007. It's been a while. We met in the blogging world, and she's such an amazing person. And so when I got a new book, The Girl with the Louding Voice, I was like, oh my God, I have to get Abby to come talk to my lady. If you haven't read the book, then right once we finish on this call, get yourself a copy. If you have read the book, please put it in the chat box. Let me know if you've read the book or if you have the book. Um, so yeah, that's it really in terms of um about what we're doing today. We just get to talk to Abby. She's going to share some of her journey with us. And yeah, without any further ado, let me just bring Abby in. Hi, Abby. Thank you so much for
Hi.
joining us today. I'm so excited that you're here. We were chatting yesterday, and I was telling you that I also feel like I know a celebrity. When people are like, "Oh, Abi Dare, the girl who wrote, the lady who wrote the girl with loud voice." Yeah, I know her. Yeah, like, she's my friend. So yes, I'm so excited that you're here today.
Thank
So
you
let's
for
go right
having
into it. Um, Go right ahead. I'd love you to just describe yourself, in 3 words. Tell us a little bit about yourself and describe yourself in 3 words.
me. Right, so I'm Abi Dare. I'm Nigerian. Was born in Nigeria, lived there for many years before I came to the UK. In 3 words, well, I mean, there's a lot to me, but I always try to describe myself in what I'm aspiring to be because I believe that I'm a constant work in progress. So I would say that I am focused, so constantly aspiring to be focused on my purpose, my calling. I am fearless in defending and standing up for what I think is the right thing. And I am having fun. So, having fun in the sense that I'm trying to live my life with joy, living joyfully, and just being thankful for everything I've been given. So,
Wow,
that's really me.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Okay, so let's go right into the book, The Girl with the Louding Voice. When I read that book, um, I could see Aduni in my dreams. I mean, I literally dreamt. I can't remember what it was. I dreamt about her, and that book just spoke a lot to me. Again, if you read the book, let me know in the chat box, because I don't want to give any spoilers and I don't want to really talk too much about the content of the book in terms of what happened. But Abby, tell us, what was the inspiration behind writing The Girl with the Louding?
So, it's funny because the book has probably been with me all my life, but I didn't realize it. As someone who absorbs things, I grew up just absorbing things around me without asking questions about it. And I think that's something that's quite common with those of us that are Nigerian. where you live in a society where we're not encouraged to speak up as children. We are kind of silenced. And I had a lot of, and it's not an aggressive kind of silence. It's just a, this is not for you. You're too young. Go to your room. Adults are talking. Compared to my children now, who are very open and bold to ask certain questions. So one thing I noticed growing up was that, which those of us that are Nigerian know, is that many of us had housemaids, which are young girls, mainly girls that were working for our families. And it was very easy to tell who the maid was. Well, personally for me, if I went into a restaurant growing up, Mr. Biggs, you see a family of four eating, you would know who the maid was because she would either be standing behind the family or not eating with them or eating something different. And so, like I said, I had questions that I just couldn't voice out then. So I carried those questions up into the point where I had my own children. I'm talking about 20 years of wondering why. I had a conversation with an 8-year-old one day where I asked her to help me with the dishwasher in the kitchen. And her response was, I don't want to do this. I'm tired, And she was really, throwing tantrums as they do. And I said to her that, look, you should be thankful that all I'm asking you to do is the dishwasher kind of thing, because there are girls like you that don't have what you have. And this is what they do for a living. And her question was, do they get paid? Mom, can you pay me for what you're asking me? And I said, actually, no. So I said to her, leave what you're doing. Let's sit down. Let's have a talk. And so I spoke to her about this housemaid thing. And she said, Mom, but why would anyone send their child to be a maid? And really, I had no answers for that. So I went to bed that night, but I could not sleep. I kept on thinking about the girls that I knew that my own family employed, the families around me, my friends, everyone I knew had a maid. My husband had, loads. So it was me wondering, who are these girls? What's their story? And I came across an article that night because I couldn't sleep. And there was this article of this 13-year-old girl who had hot water poured on her by the madam that employed her. Now, it wasn't, her injuries were horrendous. But I think what really got to me was the fact that this girl was reported as if she was another statistic. This has happened. Nigerians, deal with it, move on to the next story. And by that time, I'd come across so many stories. And so my question was, why doesn't anybody talk about this girl? What is their story? What is their journey? Surely they have dreams. My daughters have dreams. I had dreams growing up. And so I sat down and I wanted to write the book about the girl. So the girl with the loud voice is really my own answer to try to understand the journey of these girls that we all know and we all knew growing up, and just giving her a voice. That's it.
That's amazing. Because when I was reading, even though funny enough, we didn't have housemaids growing up. My mom, she was
Really?
one of those. Yeah, I'm telling you, she was one of those.
That's
I think we,
fair.
we once had a houseboy and he stole, and my mom was like, no, never again. So we
Really?
had a lot of relatives who stayed with us that kind of helped. But then,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew about, obviously I had friends who had housemates or their parents had housemates. And like you said, you could tell the difference between a housemaid and, the children. And so reading that book, it was good to see see life through the perspective of a housemaid. So, example, when adults are not adults, when madams are talking, and you don't realize, you think they are deaf and dumb, that they don't understand what's going on. Obviously, they
Absolutely.
can see, they hear these things. So it was really refreshing and intriguing, you know, seeing life from the standpoint of a housemaid who most people think are lesser than them. Now, one of the themes for me in the book, and through in the book, was kindness. Again, I don't want to give too much away as per, what happened in the book, but Aduni had a friend who was kind to her. And in my head, I'm like, wow, if I had a maid like that, would I be kind, that kind to her? So let's talk a bit about class conscious, being class consciousness, or having class consciousness, and or seeing people less than being human. And that's what's happening right now in our society. But let's not open that kind of one. But just the sense of seeing someone and just thinking they are beneath you, and that sense of respect them. What are your thoughts on that? What are
Honestly, something that I cannot understand it personally. And maybe because I'm the kind of person that believes that everyone was created for something amazing and something great. And you cannot meet someone, and because you think you're better than them because you have a lot more money, or like you said, let's not get into, oh, you're a different skin color, or there's just something about you that you have and they don't have that makes you think you're better than them. And I knew and saw this all through my life growing up within our own people, seeing drivers, seeing people. And I know that even when used to go back home to Nigeria on holidays, and maybe somebody will help me do something, maybe a maid or a driver, and I would say thank you. Or I even say thank you, sir.
Mm.
And I'll have an adult say to me, "What do I saw you saying, sir? No, don't say that. They're here to work." I'm like, but what? It takes nothing away from me to say thank you. And it's those things that I had to bring into my book because we are such a, and it's not even just between the rich and the poor, even between the upper rich and the middle
Yeah.
class. When
Yeah.
when I was in boarding school, it was there. You would bring maybe Nigerian made cornflakes, and somebody else would bring Kellogg's.
Yeah.
And automatically, you think I don't want to be friends with the person that brings Nigerian made food. So it's in our society. It's all over the world. It's not just a Nigerian thing. But I have to explore this because we forget that nobody chooses to be born into the family they're born into. Life is really like a lottery. You find yourself where you find yourself. If we all had our way, we would have negotiated and said, well, I want to be born into a millionaire or billionaire family, but we don't. And so we need to treat each other with respect and love and kindness.
Yeah.
And I think that's the essence of it, really. In the story, Aduni sees a lot of things, but she also sees that kindness has nothing to do with the size of your pocket. When she was in the village and she was poor, she saw kindness and she saw cruelty. When she got to Lagos, she saw kindness even within the rich and she saw cruelty. So it's an individual thing. And I had to explore that. I had to challenge myself. And I'm hopefully challenging my readers to say, look, you can make a difference in someone's life. You can reach out and be light
Yeah.
in any way. And it doesn't have to do with the size of your pocket, how much you have. It might just be your time. It might be the words that you give. Your words are so powerful and they can make a difference in a life, in a generation. And so I just wanted to explore that in my book. And I'm so glad that the people that have read it so far see that was what I was trying to sort of, shed some light on.
Wow. Well done. And I think this is something we need to also teach our children, especially in this time and age. We need to teach our children to be kind. And kindness, like you said, doesn't cost us. It doesn't cost you anything. In fact, it will get you further. Simple things like, and I remember when I walked in Nigeria, simple things like respecting the secretary. Because most people, they snub the secretary and say they are going for the order, not knowing that the secretary has some power. If the secretary
Yeah.
decides that our boss does not have space on the calendar,
Yeah.
you are not going anywhere. And it's not because you want to get anything in return. It's just a it's more like a byproduct of being kind. You will go far,
Absolutely.
when
Absolutely.
you
And the thing is, you can't make anybody else be kind, but you can be kind. And in The Girl with the Loud Voice, I try to show that in Aduni's relation with the woman that employed her, with Big Madam. Throughout the book, without giving spoilers away, Aduni never repaid any of the cruelty with anything apart from kindness. Yes, she was a bit outspoken. But you see, towards the end of the book, what did that kindness do? It made this woman look within. And sometimes you might not even be there when this change happens. It might be 20, 30 years down the line. But you see, nobody ever forgets how you make them feel.
yeah,
And I think it's important for us to realize that you can control your own behaviors and feelings and how you react to others.
yeah,
But trust me, they know, they're absorbing it, they're taking it on board. And one day you might and you might not see the reaction as a result of what you deposited into their lives.
yeah. So I can see in the comments people are, it's resonating with them. I don't know if this will show on YouTube, but it says kindness has nothing to do with the size of your pocket. Totally. And most people tend to think because I'm rich, then I'm better than you or I'm bigger than you. Not at all. Omar says we love to read the book. Please do. If I go get it on Amazon, ladies, you need to go get it on Amazon. That's all I'm going to say. It was commonplace to have house help in Nigeria, but it should also be noted that there was oh yeah, that treated their help like family. Take nothing.
Absolutely. Yes, there were. There were people that treated their help like family. But the question is, how many did? Let's be realistic. How many people knew their mates that went to the same schools? I'm not saying they have to go to the same schools, but how many knew their mates that went to the same schools as the family, or that ate at the dining table, or that even sat in the sofa and watched movies with the family? How many? It's not a lot. I knew one or two, but the fact is that majority, and as long as there is a majority
Yeah,
that need to have a mindset change, then we need to make a difference. It's almost like, I keep, we keep saying we won't talk about Black Lives Matter. It's not every white person that is horrible or whatever it is. It's not everyone that is racist, but it's prevalent in our society. And because of that, we need to stand up
Yeah.
and make a difference and let our voices be heard. And I think that's what we're trying to do here. What I was trying to do is to
I
say,
know.
yes, the ones that are being kind, please carry on, keep treating your help. And it's not just your help, everyone around you,
One. Yeah.
with kindness and with love, and those that are in, please hopefully look within and see what you can do to change, because it costs nothing.
Exactly. I mean, we can go on and on about the discussion, but what I'm hoping, and I'm playing my my friend card is at some point when, because we have a book club in the Super Working Mom Academy, and who knows, we can open it up to the wider Super Working Mom group on Facebook. We read the book, and we I'm putting it out there now and get you to come back so that we can actually dissect the book properly. Because by then, hopefully, everyone would have read it, and then we can now go into the issues of the book. But thank you. We, like I said, for me, what I took away from the book, apart from all the exciting things that happened, was that theme of kindness. You know, it really resonated with me. So thank you again for writing that.
Thank
So
you.
let's talk about um, let's talk a bit about some technicalities. Like you said, the story has been with you, but when it now came to the actual writing of the book, how long did that take you, and what challenges did you face on the way to write the
So this book is my debut. So debut is my first traditionally published book, commercially traditionally published book. And I must say that I didn't go into writing that book with any intention, or maybe there was a tiny bit of hope that it would get published. But I wrote the book because I was on my master's degree course in creative writing. I've loved writing all my life. I've been writing all my life, but I'd never really launched out as such with it on the commercial space. So while I was doing my creative writing masters, I had to write a dissertation, a thesis, as part of my course. And so the book came from me trying to write 15,000 words of that. But as I was sharing the book in class, there was a lot of love for the story. I'll put it that way. Many of my classmates, majority of who were not Nigerian, felt that there was something about the story that needed to be heard. And so many of them encouraged me to do more with it. But again, like I said, I wasn't confident in my own abilities as a writer. There's a lot of doubts. So I just said, "Look, okay, fine, I'll see what I can do." But I really didn't do much. I had an opportunity to enter into a competition um, called the Bath Novel Award, which I entered into, and it was judged anonymously. So that's part of why I entered it, because my name was not anywhere on the manuscript, and so no one would know I entered it. It was sort of like, okay, I'll try and see what happens. But I won that competition, and I'm thankful to God for that. And so when that happened, that changed everything for me. So the book itself took me about 8 months to write the first draft.
book?
And then I went through a process from end to end of about 3 years to when it got into the reader's hands. So it takes a while to write a book. It's basically for anyone that writes, that it's a labor of love. And I would say that it's something that you really shouldn't do, well, at least when you're starting out. In fact, you shouldn't ever do it because of money. You should do it because you have a message to give, and B, because you love to do it. Otherwise, you'll be very disappointed when if it doesn't happen the way you expect it to.
Wow.
So about 3 years.
Wow, 3 years. Wow. Okay, so obviously you told us you're a writer. What do you do for your day job, if you don't mind
So
sharing?
I had a project management team in a FTSE
Right.
100 company
Oh, wow.
in
So
London.
writer, project manager, head of project management, wife, a mom. How do you juggle it all? What's your secret?
I have to say, I have a lot of grace. My faith is very important to me. My faith in God as a Christian. So I have a lot of grace that I lean on to, but I also try to be practical and reasonable. So things like some of the house chores that I absolutely hate doing anyway, I delegate those.
Yep.
I delegate the house chores. Now within the lockdown, I'm like, gosh, I really, really miss having someone help with the house chores. So I delegate things. Instead of having to go into the stores to do shopping with the kids all the time, I try to do online shopping, which I was saying to you yesterday, this like that you advised me on that without even knowing. So people that put stuff out on social media, you don't know who's listening and who's changing their ways because of you. So I saw you put up a post. I think you talked about it, put up a post, and I said, you know what, I'll try this thing. And I began to give a little bit of my life out. So giving and it requires, so if you're the kind of person that likes to be in control, you might find it difficult to do more things, than you should learn to let go of certain things. So I thankfully have an understanding husband. So we eat a lot of takeaway when I can't cook. I have help with the kids. I've got families. I just try to do what I can. But I think that what's the most important thing for me is that I've never lost sight of how important writing is to me. And that is something I've made very clear to everyone around me. So I'm the kind of person that would turn down an opportunity to go to an event, a party, because I want to finish a book, because I want to write. So I would say that, like I said, there's a lot of grace, but it's just balancing your priorities right, knowing what is important, and do not be afraid to delegate, because there's help out there if you seek for it.
Wow, that's amazing, and that's one of like the key foundation of being a support. It's knowing what is priority and delegating the rest. It's as simple as that. And I know, some people find that, oh, no, I don't want anyone in my space. I want to do my cleaning. But for me, it's the value of my time. For you, you rather use that time writing than cleaning,
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
once you know what your priorities are, it will be easier for you to, delegate the bits that are not priority. So thank you for sharing that. Oh, someone is saying, let's see. Thank you, Dave. You have really taught me how to use this different social media apps, and thank you. You're welcome. Okay, so now let's go back to the girl with the loud voice. Did you expect that he was going to receive so much attention like he did? I mean, even me, I was like, wait, so what just happened here? I was just seeing the girl with the loudest voice everywhere, even before it came out in the UK, because I think it came out in the States before it came out in the UK, right? And I kept asking you, I'm like, when is it going to get to the UK?
Yeah.
And you're like, March, 2020. So obviously, like you said, you didn't go in expecting much, but when this happened, what was your reaction to the way it basically just took over everything? Yeah, what was your reaction to the
At
reception?
first, gosh, it was disbelief at first, like unreal. This is me. Like this, I kept on saying to my husband, "This is me." Um, and then there was a lot of gratitude, because you see, when you've been doing something for a while and you've always been afraid to launch into the deep, if I can use those words, when you then finally take a step out and you now realize that the world has actually been waiting for your story, you cannot but feel a sense of deep gratitude. I'm thankful to God, and I'm thankful to every of my readers out there who have read the book and told others about it. I don't feel that there was anything special that I did, but I think because the story is one that somehow resonates with everyone, regardless of where you're from, I think that really helped as well. And then that goes down to me saying that write what is from your heart, write the story you want to tell. Don't worry as a writer about what will happen with it, because you have no control over that. To be honest, I have no control over what happens after I've submitted the manuscript. So write what you have to write. I'm just taking like I said to you yesterday, I'm taking each day as it comes. I'm grateful for every opportunity. I'm thankful for all my readers that have loved the book and shared it, because they are the ones that really said, I love this book. I get tags all the time on Instagram of people reading the book and saying, you've got to read it to their own followers. And all I have to do is just say thank you. That's all. I'm just grateful and remain humble.
Wow, let me confess. So obviously, like I said, I've seen everywhere where they're talking about the girl with the louding voice, and everyone was like, oh, it's good, it's good. And sometimes for me, when like everyone is saying, I'm like, can it be that good? I mean, obviously, I've read some of the other materials, but I'm like, what is so different about this book? But I am now one of the people saying, yes, you have to get you have to get that book.
Thank you.
So tell me, and I'm curious, were you also surprised that your book was well received outside the African community or outside the Black community, because it has been received in the States with occasions and all. So was that surprising, considering the fact that um, the story was a Nigerian story, set in Lagos, set in Africa. So what was it?
Absolutely. I mean, the story was as I would call it, maybe should I say local, as Nigerian as it can be.
Yes,
The names of the characters were very traditional names. Some of them, not all of them, some of the characters were traditional names. The scenes, at least the village scenes, were very, very African, like you said, very Nigerian. And then the book was not even written in standard English. So
exactly.
felt like everything, when I was writing, everything felt like it was against what
Yes,
I was used to, what I had seen. But I felt that I had a backing, right? I felt that there was something inside of me. And I believe, to me, it's just the voice of God that just kept on saying, just keep going, don't stop. And so I just kept on writing. So I wrote till the end without knowing what would happen. And I think that's what helped, because not knowing, if somebody had said to me, oh, your book would get to where it is now, I probably would have stopped halfway because of fear. So I think that, yeah, it was just really shocking, surprising to see, to even that people didn't even like say I can't read past the first page. That was the most shocking thing to me, that people that were not even Nigerian were like, I totally get how she's speaking. I understand it without any problems. I think it was just amazing for me. So going back to what I'm saying about don't let your fear cripple you, because you don't know where your work, when it will get appreciated, and when you'll reach where you should reach.
and the way I see it is, you were just doing, sharing your gift, your ordinary gift, and God added the extra thing. You, like you said, you had no control over what would happen afterwards. And
None.
when I read the first way, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Why is Abby writing like this? And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I caught on, like, because she's writing, from Adini's perspective. But I take a step back, like, this is different. Well done. It's called The Girl with the Louding Voice. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it anywhere books are selling online. Yeah. Okay. Now I know that there are some people on here who have been wanting to work with a traditional publisher. Um, so what advice would you have for women, especially women of color, who, like you said, in your mind, you're like, oh, is my content good enough? Is my story good enough? So what advice would you have for someone who is really bent on, not bent, but desires to work with a traditional publisher to get their story out?
So I would say that the first thing is, you need to actually write a good story. There's no excuse for writing a mediocre story, and that's really up to you what you mean by that. But I know that at least when I was writing mine, maybe because I had the help of the MA in creative writing, I had to push myself a little bit more than I would have. So I try to just do my best, really do your best in writing the best story you can. Don't just leave it halfway, do not a great enough job and expect to, because publishing is a very, very competitive industry. I don't know the statistics, but I know that manuscripts are rejected like every second. That's one. So do your best and write. And to get to that point where you've written the best you can, invest your time in getting better at writing. So I always say to people that it costs nothing to watch YouTube videos on writing. Even till now, I do that. Even with my MA in creative writing, I'm learning from people that have not even been published. I'm learning because they are better teachers at teaching me how to write than I am for myself. So learn from people. Free online resources are there. Take a further step if you can afford it. Enroll into a course. Pay for it, because there's something about paying for something that allows you to give more. There's more value in when you pay for something, because you give everything to get the value out of it. And that's what happened to me with my creative writing course. I was paying a lot for it, and I said I had to get something out of it. So invest your time and your money into getting better at your talent, getting your talent and your gift to where it should be. And then I would say that start looking out for what we call literary agents. Without a literary agent right now, it's very, very difficult, nearly impossible to get into the top 5 publishing houses. There are smaller publishers that you could probably get into, but again, still that is competitive. So I would say always work with the idea in mind that you'd need to have a literary agent, and that's a representative. They would speak to the publisher for you. And once you get that, so you reach out to them it's basically like writing a cover letter, send them an email, a little bit of a summary of your book, which is called a synopsis, or a query letter with a synopsis, first 3 chapters usually. I mean, look on the agent's website, see what they're asking for. Submit your book and hope that they love it. You see, the thing is that with the way it works in publishing, it's not just about the quality of your writing, it's also the story that
Mm,
you've told. So, which is why I always say that. And because they're trends, so there was a time that everybody was writing Harry Potter like stories because it was trending. At the time everyone was writing 50 Shades of Grey like stories because it was trending. Please don't follow trends. Write from your heart, because that is what can transcend pages, and your whoever is reading your story will be able to know that this is from your heart. So write what you want to write from your heart, and trust that, if you've done your best, and just keep going. Do not give up. There are people that have been looking for. I've read so many stories of writers that were rejected, even J.K. Rowling, hundreds of times, and they'd never stop. If you give up, then you've totally 100% killed your chances. But if you haven't given up, you still have 100% of a chance to get your story read. So don't give up. But first of all, please get your writing up to the point where it's good enough to be sold or to be read by somebody else that is not your friend or your mom or your dad or your husband.
I like that. Wow, that's amazing. And you touch on a lot of things I always say about investing in your craft. You might have the raw talent, right? But if you don't invest in your craft, there's only so much that you can. There's only as high as you can get. And like you said, when there's
Yeah,
an investment, then you put more into it. If there's no
absolutely.
investment, there's nothing to lose. So, why bother? So thank you.
Yeah. So just to give a little bit of, just to give you guys an idea of what I'm saying. So by the time I wrote The Girl with the Loud Voice, I'd had over 1 million words in practice. 1 million. Just think about that. 1 million words, over 1 million words in practice of writing before The Girl with the Loud Voice. And my story is similar to many writers out there. They've been writing behind the scenes, pouring their hearts out, not giving up. Even with my day job, with the kids, I just said I wasn't going to give up on this. I would just keep going, regardless. I didn't see the end, as having a book that will be, well received like this. But I saw the end of having a book in somebody's hands one day, that would read my story. And let that be what you see in your mind, and just keep going for it.
Wow, amazing. I remember once I don't know if you remember, you told me you wanted to go for a writing retreat. Did you ever go on that retreat?
I couldn't, no, I
Oh,
didn't.
yeah,
It was
because I
hard with
think,
the kids.
with
Yeah.
the kids, yeah. So that would be fun, just writing.
I think I'm going to do that. I think I might organize a writing retreat and just get a few people
Yeah,
go together, and I'll sort
that
of
would
do a
be great.
course. Yeah, I think I might do that.
Someone says YouTube videos of writing. I should check out what more is out there for food writers. You never, you,
Absolutely. And the funny thing is, the food writer out there, oh my goodness, there's such an appetite these days. I mean, if you're in Nigerian, I mean, I don't know how many Nigerian cookbooks are there that are global, well
yeah,
received. Not a lot, and you have a wonderful opportunity. So look into it, see how these things are done. Buy other, buy cookbooks, see how they've written into them, the pictures they've taken, and go for it. Go for it. There's no idea that you can discount, because until you try it, you don't know. So yes, please do.
awesome. So I know you've kind of talked about, how to get maybe working with a traditional publisher. Are there any key or any pitfalls that you think aspiring novel writers should avoid, on their journey? Anything that you want to add to what I said?
I think what I'll say is, please don't fall into the trap of people that tell you to pay for your book to be published. Those are not publishers. Those are vanity presses. And I've had to advise so many people. So you send your manuscript, somebody, they call themselves a publisher. Ask you to send your manuscript, and then within 5-10 minutes, they reply you and say, wonderful story, pay £1,000. And you're happy, thinking that, because yes, of course, why wouldn't you be happy thinking that, your book is going to be out there? These people are called vanity presses. They're in for most of the time fleecing writers out of their money and not doing anything with it.
So
The best
basically, 419.
but the best thing is to, a good agent would never ask you to pay for anything. It's different from an editor. You can get a freelance editor. I use freelance editors. That's different because they're working on your manuscript, editing and making it better. But then nobody's going to promise you that your book will be a bestseller, or they're going to publish it for you to pay. No one asks you to do that. Any reputable publisher would not ask you to pay for that. So that's number one pitfall. A lot of people are falling into that trap. The second thing is, I would say, learn to be humble. You see, this journey, when you send your manuscript out and somebody replies to you and tells you that it's not good enough because there's something missing in the story, please take that on board with reason, because their reasons might not make sense. So try and assess it and decide that this makes sense, but be open to correction, because it's because of people that gave me correction on the way that my book is out there today. So sharing my stories in class, people saying to me, Abby, you need to work on how you build your character, made me look into how to build a character properly. It's those things. So take criticism well, receive it well, know what to filter out, know what is negativity and hate versus what is constructive criticism, and take that on board. And I think the final pitfall would be to avoid would probably be not giving up. Too many people give up very quickly, and I think you really shouldn't. Just keep going, but also know when to stop. So and there's a fine balance there. So you might have a story that you've shared it with, I don't know, hundreds of people, and everybody's saying the same thing. There is something missing about this. Please stop at that point and recalibrate and think about, what can I do to make it better? At that point you can give up, but give up to make it better or to try another story.
Wow, awesome, awesome. So what would you say to the woman who she knows she has a story, she's writing, but sometimes you're experiencing writer block? How do you get yourself? You probably have experience that. How do you get out of that? How do you encourage yourself to keep going and not give up?
So I encourage myself by looking at other people that have done it before me. And I tell myself I have no excuse. The other day, I was looking at James Patterson and I saw how old he is, how with even with his age and how we continue. I mean, I'm not saying he's an old man. I'm saying he's older than I am. And he hasn't stopped writing. Everybody experiences writer's block, right? Everybody experiences some form of something that I always say, even when my kids come into the room and break that flow of writing because I've got to go make dinner or whatever, it's hard, but I need to say to myself, if I want to get to the end of this book, then I've got to come back in and keep writing. So I would say that read other people's stories, look at other people's lives. Margaret Atwood is a woman that I greatly admire because she constantly brings out material, constantly writes, and I'm sure she's experienced these things. So read other books. Reading books are a very good way to come out of writer's block, but also just setting a goal for yourself and saying, look, I've got to write the end. I've got to get to the end of this book and just keep going. No one can help you with that. No one apart from yourself. You've just got to encourage yourself and keep going.
Wow. Okay, so you've heard it, and this isn't just for writers, it's for anyone who has a dream or a goal, or you're aspiring for something. You might take a break, but then you get right back up. Once you have a goal, the end in mind, then that should keep you going. Wow, thank you so much for that. Emilala says suggestion. Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier. We should read in the academy. Yeah, definitely. We are taking that on board. So and that way we can bring Adi back to come, talk to us about the book. Awesome. Okay, so what about the woman who, maybe she's given a few people the book to read and she's gotten good feedback, but there's still that fear and doubt, like, oh my God, can I really do this? What would be your advice to such a person who has a story? She's creative, she has a story, she's been practicing and doing, writing things, and now she wants to stretch herself and take it to the next level, or is experiencing fear, she's experiencing doubt. What would be your advice to this
I
situation?
think I would say, yeah, I think I would say feel the fear and do it anyway. I was terrified throughout the entire journey. There were times I would not be able to sleep. When I entered into the competition, the Bat Novel Award, I was terrified. When I was longlisted, I was terrified. When I was shortlisted, I was terrified. When I won, I was terrified. So that fear is constant. It doesn't stop. You've just got to keep fighting it. And I always say to writers that until you would imagine if I had not entered into that competition. My agent and I talk about it all the time. My publishers and I say it all the time. Just imagine if I hadn't clicked send. Just so you know that the competition closed at midnight on a certain day. Let's assume the day was 5th of April because I can't remember that date now. Do you know that I was the last person to submit? My manuscript went in at 11:59.
Wow.
Won that competition. So this is just to tell you that I had a reminder in my calendar. Imagine having a reminder pop up in your calendar every day for about 6 months. Enter back novel award. Enter back novel award. Enter,
Oh
and I
my
kept on saying,
god.
"No, I'll I kept on dismissing it. I'm not doing this thing. I can't do it. But that night, I'd fallen asleep, and I just felt like, I just woke up from my sleep, felt like a tap on my back, and I woke up on myself like, oh my gosh, it's nearly midnight. So I submitted my manuscript, and I won that competition. So what am I trying to say is that everybody deals with fear. But if you don't launch out and share your talents, your gifts are not meant for you. Understand that they're not meant for you. It's a gift. Give that gift out to somebody else. And so that giving, usually with publishing, starts with you sending your work to somebody reputable out there you cannot do it on your own. You're not a publisher. So give it to somebody out there who has the money, the time, the investment, the expertise to help you get your book into the right hands. And so please launch out, even with the fear, feel it anyway, but still do it.
Wow, that's profound. That is profound. I hope you're hearing, ladies, and any gentlemen who might have stumbled on this. And so, yeah, lots of comments. I don't know if you can see, Abby, can you see the comments? But I don't know. I don't know what you can
Oh
see. Or
wow. Yeah. Oh gosh,
why?
that's a lot. Thank you guys.
Okay, so someone is asking a question, and if you have any questions, please ask quickly. We are rounding up at 1:30 because Abby is very busy. So, I'm just privileged and honored that she was able to come talk to us today. So, Cheryl says, why that title?
So the title came from the book. When you read it, I think you see it. So the girl with the louding voice, really, Aduni is a 14-year-old girl who is not. She's semi-literate, so she stopped schooling in primary school, and her English, based because of her background, because she didn't go to a very good school, all sorts of reasons, her English is a little bit not standard. And so, her mother tells her that her education will give her a voice, as we know from our society where we've come from, and in fact, all over the world, having a basic education, the first 12 years at the minimum, is absolutely critical to the foundation of any life. And so Adeni's mother tells her that, this is what will give you a voice, will allow you to be heard. But Aduni doesn't just want to have a voice. She doesn't just want to be heard. She wants to make an impact. She wants to change lives. She wants to open doors for people that are coming behind her. She wants to stop child marriage in her society. She wants to make a difference. And so for Aduni, she doesn't just want to have a loud voice. She says to her mother, I want to have a louding voice, which means I want a voice that continues to speak for me even when I'm no longer here on earth. And that's what I want for myself. And that's what I hope everybody wants for themselves as well, is to make an impact that lasts generations even after you've gone. And so that's where that title came from. It came from Aduni's dreams to become the girl with that louding voice.
Okay, so follow-up question. How did you come up with the title?
I think, yeah, like I said, it came from that conversation, really. With that conversation, and I'd gone through so many titles, but I'd written that part in the book, and towards the end, I think I'd even finished the book, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's all Aduni is. She's the girl with the louding voice. And also because she talks a lot. When you read the book, you see she doesn't shut up. She continues
Ah,
speaking. It gets her into trouble. And so it was just both literal and not literal, but it just fits. It just fits into the story and the character.
awesome. So everyone is saying, wow, love this. Ladies, don't just love this. I need you to go get the book on Amazon or Barnes or wherever they're selling books online. I don't know if there are any. So, I mean, we're still on. Some of us are still on lockdown, so try and get it online. It is, and you can get it on Kindle. You can get the hard copy. It really doesn't matter. So yeah, lots of reiteration on what you said before. Your talents and gifts are not meant for you. Give it to someone. Yes, definitely. If you have any questions, please go right ahead and ask. We are nearly. Oh, someone said she's ordered it already. Awesome.
Thank
Great.
you.
Well done. Yeah, Waterstones exactly. You can get it from Okay, so you've kind of touched on, anyone who's experiencing doubt and fear. What of the person who it's not necessarily doubt or fear, but they've just packed their dreams to one side because their mom, their wife, they've put everyone else, before them, and their dreams are at the back burner. Do you have any other? I mean, apart from what you said before, which is like amazing, do you have any other advice for such a woman who has put her book, put her not her book, put her dreams at the back burner and is not quite sure how to step up? What would you say?
Wow. You see, I believe that your dreams are very, very, very tied to your purpose. I believe that the reason why you have a dream to become somebody, to become something, an actress, an actor, in my case, a writer, is because many times that's what you were created to be. You might not realize it. And so when you put your dreams on the back burner, you are suffering without knowing. You are not fully yourself. I always say that when people ask me that, how do you juggle everything? How do you make time to write? I say to them, if I don't write, I feel like I am going insane. It's the same way with anybody that, they tell us that what you do is, but maybe if you didn't do that, you would just not feel complete. And so I want you to think about picking your dreams back up because you need to be complete. You need to be whole, right? Don't see your dreams as something to make you famous or well known. See it as just something that you need to be, to exist, to become, to have a fulfilled life. Because when you're walking about the day, your day-to-day life, and you're doing your 9 to 5, which is most of the time, to be honest, not what you were meant to be doing. You're just doing it because of money. There would always be a hunger inside of you. And until you pick up that dream and feast on it, you continue to remain hungry. So again, it still goes back to what I'm saying is please try and make time for it. And even if that time is just half, and see, sometimes that time might be joining like minds. So looking for people like yourself coming together and saying, guys, let's sit together and do 10 minutes of singing or writing or whatever it is, just doing that. And from there, you begin to see that, okay, I'm going to keep making time. Until you make time for it, you cannot, there's nothing else to say apart from just try and create space in your life. And with the understanding that this is what I'm meant to be doing. There's something powerful about that, knowing that this is what I was created to do. I think is really powerful.
Thank you so much, Abby. And like I said again, that's what Super Mom is about. Helping you, first of all, recognize what you've been called to do, and then now creating time, to focus on that. Because if your time isn't invested in what you're called to do, then what are you doing with your time? It means you're living a time of by default rather than design. So
Yeah.
thanks. That's advice. Oh, okay. Sorry. Someone is asking, where can we get the girl with the loudest voice in Nigeria? Is it in Nigeria yet?
It will be published by the publisher called Wida Books. Should be coming soon. The Lashone is Wida Books that do Ake Festival. So look out for it. It'll be Nigeria soon.
So look out for it. Same way I have to look out because it came out in the States and I have to wait for a few months before it came out in the UK. So I think we've touched on this before, but I'll ask it again. Paula says just downloaded the sample on Kino. Yes, it is, but you enjoy it. Trust me, it is. Well, I'll let you. I'll let you answer that because that was my first shock when I started reading the book.
Yes,
It was,
like
it was amazing.
it was written that way because the maids that I knew growing up, many of them were how to navigate English language in their own way. But not just because of that, but because I wanted to tell a story about lack of education and what had been taken out of Aduni's life, but also to show that you don't need to speak perfect English to be intelligent or smart or to have talent. That the way you speak, your command of the English language, it really doesn't equal the measure of it's not a measure of your intelligence. And as you read through the book, you see that Aduni makes a comment to that where there's another housemaid who spoke fantastic English but made some mistakes, and Aduni's like, oh my goodness, so even though I don't speak very good English, it doesn't mean I'm not smart. And I think that's something that when we meet people and they seem to struggle with English language, you automatically relegate them into you're not smart because you can't speak English. So I think I wanted to just prove that a little bit of that point out.
And I think you did because when I read, like I said, when at first I was, how they say we're shaking tables. I'm like, I was uncomfortable reading it that way, because in your mind you're like, novel. It must be written in a certain way. So initially I was uncomfortable, and I was aware that I was uncomfortable. But then as I read along, I was like, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Thank you for writing this book. That's all I can say. Okay, I think I have just one more question. Um, yes. So what's next for you? What's next for Ali?
I'll just keep writing stories that I hope that can either make a change or join a list of conversations that are looking towards making a change. I am very deliberate I try to be deliberate about the stories I write. I try to write stories about things that I feel that worry me, or burden me about how we treat each other as humans. And this has got nothing to do with this is, starting from Nigeria, but even globally, things we see and things that should not be how they are. And so that's me. So that's what I want to do, to keep writing stories that can join a conversation that would spark change. That's it, really. I'll just do my bits. That's my bit. That's my own contribution to this world.
So are you already writing another book?
I'm always writing. I don't know what will happen with that, but it's something I've always done. Whether I share it and it becomes into a book, I don't know yet, but we'll see.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And I know that Abby and I were talking yesterday about, a lot of people who need help, with writing and the whole journey. And Abby's busy, but at some point I am believing and hoping that we'll be able to come together and, organize a program for women who want to write, because stories connect the world. It connects all of us together. So if more people can write stories that are within them, I just feel like it will be something beautiful. So I'm looking forward to that. I know we'll talk more about that later, but I just want to put it
Absolutely.
out there. Just put it out into the universe and share that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's say I felt that discomfort too in the first few words, like reading the help. But after a little while, it made perfect sense for the person you to engage my reader. Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. And it also makes you slow down a little bit and really
True.
listen to this girl. I got a lot of feedback from non-Nigerian writers that I had to slow down. This wasn't a book I could just jump. Every single word mattered. And I think that's really good thing, because I really wanted Aduni's voice to be heard, because I think many of these girls, not just housemaids, many, many young girls all over the world, if you think about the fact that there are 138 million girls out of school today, the fact that you're able to go to school is a great blessing, a great privilege that you don't realize until I didn't realize until I went into writing this story. And so why would I then write her story in plain fantastic English and detract from the whole message of the book? So this made people slow down. I have so many people reach out to me reading the book and saying, what charities can we give to? Where can we donate? How can we make a difference? And that's really, there's nothing that beats that feeling of getting messages like that from readers.
Wow, that is so profound. So did you have to do like extra research into
Oh
writing
yeah.
the book? Was it based on what? Okay, okay.
Yeah, so I had to do a lot of read. I watched practically every single video out there of young housemates that had been abused. And around the same time, funny enough, there was a clip of a documentary shared by a group of Nigerians called House Girls. It was almost like a Benin story. I don't know if you came across that on social media, and that thing generated outrage and everybody saying, "Oh, we need to change." And I was just so happy. But obviously, listening to some of these girls that were interviewed, not a lot of them were interviewed, but listening to some of them and just hearing the way they speak, the way how broken they were in telling their stories. But then, not just within Nigeria, just generally, I was reading a lot about education inequality, gender inequality. Why, if you think about it, why are there so many girls out of school? It's down to gender discrimination. It's because the girl child is seen as a commodity. It's because the girl child is prepared for marriage, for domestic chores from the day she was born. It's because the girl child is seen as someone that doesn't have hopes or dreams, and then therefore just needs to live under her husband and really become somebody that's suppressed. Is because the girl child doesn't have a voice, and we need to fight that. We need to fight that as a society, as a generation.
Wow, I'm telling you, that book shook so many tables for me. And then I told you I was dreaming about Junior. I see my dreams. But yeah, okay. So someone says question from Hobby. Aha, I knew there were a few men I was thinking into listening to our conversation. But it's all right. Says, have you watched Elizabeth Gilbert's author Love Pray TED talk about your elusive creative genius? And do you believe in waiting for inspiration to rise?
Um, I believe in writing from your heart. I haven't watched that TED talk, but I will watch it. But I believe that, to be honest, some people say that they don't believe in inspiration, but I don't, just like I said, I don't just launch into writing anything. So I tend to really, really think about what I'm writing. I pray about what I write. I mull over it. I discuss. I really, really question why I'm writing what I'm writing. Honestly, I'm constantly, even right now when I'm writing, I write a chapter and I wonder what's the whole point of this. So I'm constantly questioning. I also believe that if you wait for inspiration, you could wait forever. So there needs to be a fine balance between saying you're waiting for inspiration and just getting on with it. So I would say that you need to discover what your my for me, my inspiration to get the words out. Once I know the reason why, I have a purpose behind what I'm writing. My inspiration is looking at other people's books and getting the words on paper. That's my own definition of finding that inspiration. But in terms of getting the reason why you need to write, that's something that you need to find out yourself. What is your purpose behind the story you're telling? I think that's very important.
Thank you for sharing that. Oma says, glad you got that storyline out there. We should treat ourselves better, not understanding ourselves. Yeah, that's it. I think, there are so many things that the book touched on. Girl education, kindness, class, all of those things. And then just, yeah, there are so many, a few characters in there who, like you said, the girl child, the woman is seen as less of, less of a man or back to inequality. So there's so much in the book, and that's why I said, I would like to get other people to read the book so that we can actually dissect. Because that way, no more spoilers, right? We've all read the book. We can actually break down everything down. Okay, so we're rounding up, ladies and gentlemen. Emmy says one main takeaway from today. Oh, says my voice is cutting off. Oh, sorry about that. I'm not sure why. Um, okay, one main takeaway from today. Your voice is much more than your words or command of a certain language. Your voice is your purpose, passion. Yeah, totally, totally. Sorry for those who can hear me properly. I don't know what's going on. But Abby, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
say
yeah.
great. Okay, so any last questions? Anyone? Abby, any last words for us before we let you go?
What I would say to everyone listening is that there's something in every one of us. There's something that we've all been given and gifted. I've heard a few people say they don't have. No, that's not true. There's something inside you that the world is waiting for. And you see, that world doesn't necessarily mean all the how many billion people. That world might just be your next door neighbor. It might be the people that are following you on social media. I would say, please don't bury that thing inside of you. I would say share it with the world because you really don't know where it will end up. You don't. So until you share it out, you don't know whose life you will change. I was speaking to Datala yesterday about somebody, a character in the book that all she gave was her time. And just that time, just an hour a day for about 2, 3 weeks, changed an entire generation. So please learn to give and yeah, and just please don't sit on your talent. I think that's the final thing. Just use it, use your gift because it's not for you, it's for other people.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. If anyone wanted to follow you on social media, what's your handle so that they can go check out when something new is out there or just follow
Sure, it's Abi Dare underscore author on Instagram and Twitter. I'm more active on Instagram than I am on Twitter.
you. Okay. So Abidare underscore author,
Author,
right?
yeah.
So Ola, if you can put that up for us, Abidare underscore author, so people can go follow Abi on Instagram or on Twitter. Awesome. Wow, this has been amazing. I don't think there are any more questions. Everyone's just saying thank you. Everyone, Cheryl says thank you so much for this session, Abby, and this one is inspirational. Banale says thank you so much for sharing. Kola says your talent and gifts are not meant for you alone. God gave it to you for a reason. Share it, share it, share it, share it. You have to share your message. So everyone, again, thank you. Um, Thank you for joining us today. This has been refreshing and we finished bang on time. Um, I hope you learned one or two things from our discussion today. We'll be bringing more support from Convos. Like I said, once in a while, we'll bring an ordinary woman doing extraordinary. And apart from that, on the YouTube channel, I'll be sharing things around productivity, faith, motivation, and sometimes about recovering from loss. So please subscribe to the channel and press the bell button so you can get notified when we have new content available for you. So again, Abby, thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to what you have next. Because me, I'm always there. When I see you have something else, I'm always there. I'm one of your biggest fans. I know a lot of
Thank
people say that, but I truly am.
thank you so much.
Okay. God
Thank you
bless
so
you.
much all for joining. I really appreciate you taking your time out to listen to me. Thank
Oh,
you.
no worries at all. Let me just see that. Okay, no more questions. Okay, so take care, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.